All right, so you want to know if you're dating a narcissist?
Yeah.
Well, you're not alone. Seriously, it feels like everybody's tossing that word around these days. So buckle up. We're doing a deep dive into
Yeah.
this YouTube video from MedCircle
Right?
featuring Dr. Ramani.
Oh, interesting.
She's a clinical psychologist, and she actually wrote a book called Should I Stay or Should I Go?
Uh-huh.
All about this.
Wow.
So consider this your cheat sheet for figuring out
Right.
if you're dating a narcissist and like what that even means.
Absolutely.
So what I found fascinating about this video is how Dr. Ramani calls working with people affected by narcissists her, quote, favorite topic.
Oh, really?
Like, you wouldn't think that at first, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Narcissism doesn't exactly scream fun.
Uh-huh, right.
Like, how can that be somebody's favorite thing to deal with?
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
It is.
So where's the joy in that?
Exactly.
Well, for psychologists like Dr. Ramani,
Yeah.
it's about the patterns. You see, narcissists, they kind of leave a trail of hurt, but the way they do it, it's often like this predictable cycle.
Oh, interesting.
So for her, it's like solving a puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out the psychology behind it all, and then, even better, helping people rebuild
Right.
after being in those relationships.
Okay, so then how do we actually, like, I guess, define narcissism? I feel like it's one of those words that gets thrown around so much,
It is.
but, like, what does it actually mean?
Well, Dr. Ramani, she breaks it down into 6 core traits.
Okay.
And I love this. She uses this mirror analogy,
Oh.
and it's so true. So think about it. A healthy relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a two-way mirror, right?
Yeah.
You're both reflecting each other's feelings, each other's needs.
Exactly.
But with a narcissist, it's a one-way mirror.
Ooh.
They can't see past their own reflection.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that would play out, especially, like, in dating.
Right. Yeah.
Hey.
So let's break down these 6 core traits.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
All right. So first up, and probably the most talked about trait, is that lack of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't tune in to what you're feeling,
Yeah.
And then you've got this huge sense of entitlement.
Oh, okay.
Like they deserve special treatment.
Ah.
The world revolves around them.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting, to be honest.
It is. It can be very draining. Then you've got grandiosity.
Oh, okay.
This inflated sense of self-importance, constantly talking about how amazing they are,
I see.
exaggerating their achievements, always needing to be the center of attention.
It's all about appearances.
Exactly. Superficiality, that's another big one. They're obsessed with image, both their own and the people they surround themselves with.
Oh, okay.
And because it's all about the facade, they really struggle with regulating their emotions. Like, they're prone to tantrums.
Oh, wow.
They can fly off the handle so easily.
Oh, I see.
And they are super sensitive to any type of criticism.
Okay, so then that kind of leads into the 6th one, the inability to handle any sort of criticism.
Right, exactly. It all ties together, right?
Yeah.
Any feedback they get, they see it as this personal attack because it threatens that perfect image they're trying to project.
That makes sense. But I'm sure a lot of people are probably thinking right now, like, well, I've shown a couple of these traits. Does that make me a narcissist?
That's the big question. And Dr. Ramani, she really emphasizes that it's about the combination
Okay.
and the intensity.
Okay.
Right. So 1 or 2 traits here and there, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a full-blown narcissist.
So it's not like a checklist that you're going through.
Yeah.
It's more about a consistent pattern of behavior.
Exactly. It's like a recipe. You need all the ingredients in the right proportions to create that specific dish.
Okay, I like that.
Now, if this is ringing a bell, just so you know, in her book, Dr. Ramani actually lists 30 characteristics.
Oh, wow.
So there's even more to unpack if you want to go deeper.
Oh! Well, and speaking of going deeper, I think that the title of her book, Should I Stay or Should I Go, really speaks to the dilemma so many people face when they are, dating someone who they think might be a narcissist.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
those 6 core traits we just talked about, they translate into some pretty serious red flags in a dating context.
Right.
Think about it. If someone lacks empathy,
Mm-hmm.
can they really be a supportive partner?
Yeah, that's true.
And if they're entitled and grandiose, are you ever truly going to feel like an equal in the relationship?
Yeah, and I imagine that superficiality, the focus on image, that's got to get old after a while.
It does.
Like, you wonder if they're even capable of a genuine connection.
Yeah, and then you throw in that poor emotional regulation,
Oh, gosh.
and you might constantly feel like you're walking on eggshells,
Oh, totally.
always worried about setting them off.
Right, right.
And good luck having an open and honest conversation, right?
Oh, yeah.
With that inability to handle criticism,
Mm-hmm.
things can shut down real quick.
Yeah. It's like hitting a brick wall every time you try to talk about your feelings.
Exactly.
So I think we need to unpack this term that Dr. Ramani used in the video. She talks about gaslighting.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like this is particularly relevant when
Absolutely.
it comes to dating a narcissist. This is where things get really interesting.
It is. It gets kind of creepy
Yeah,
in a way.
it does.
Because gaslighting, it's a classic narcissistic tactic,
Hmm.
and it can be incredibly damaging to a relationship.
So for our listener who might be hearing this term for the first time,
Yeah.
can you break it down? Like, what is gaslighting?
Okay, so gaslighting, it's basically a form of manipulation
Okay.
where the narcissist is denying your reality.
Oh, wow.
They make you question your own sanity, your memories,
Oh, gosh.
your perception of events.
Oh.
So imagine this. You bring up something that hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
and your partner flat out denies it ever happened.
Oh.
Or they'll say something like, you're imagining things, or you're being too sensitive.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all about making you doubt yourself
Mm-hmm.
and making their version of reality the only one that matters.
Gosh, Dr. Ramani had this funny story about people starting to record conversations
Oh, yeah,
because they feel like they need proof of what happened.
they do.
Because the narcissist is so good at twisting things around, you start to question your own memory.
Exactly. And that self-doubt, that's exactly what the narcissist wants, right?
Oh.
It makes you more dependent on them for validation,
Oh.
which just strengthens their control.
So it all goes back to that lack of empathy. They
Yeah.
just don't care to acknowledge the impact of their actions.
They don't know. It's all about maintaining their version of reality,
Wow.
even if that means twisting the truth or flat out denying it.
Okay, I want to talk about something else Dr. Ramani brought up,
Okay.
which is what happens when two narcissists date.
Oh,
She called it a psychological cage fight,
yes.
which I thought was hilarious.
It's a great visual.
Right. But behind the humor, I mean, it's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So why is that? Like, I mean, wouldn't they be a perfect match?
Well, initially, there's this powerful attraction, right?
Okay.
Because narcissists are often drawn to each other's superficial qualities.
Huh?
The charm,
Yeah.
the confidence,
Yeah.
the image they project.
Oh, so they look good as a couple.
Yeah, exactly. But Dr. Romani, she makes this really important distinction
Okay.
between looking good and feeling good.
Oh, I see.
And that's a good question to ask yourself in your relationship.
Yeah,
Are your needs being met?
that's a good one.
Do you genuinely feel seen,
Yeah.
appreciated,
Yeah.
or is it all about appearances?
Right, right. Because I imagine with two narcissists, like, eventually that facade cracks, right?
Absolutely.
And then fireworks start.
Oh, yeah. That honeymoon phase is over.
Mm.
And their lack of empathy
Yeah.
and their need for control, it leads to conflict.
Oh, I see.
It becomes this battle for dominance.
Oh.
And nobody's willing to compromise.
Dr. Ramani had this great line. She said, let the narcissists all breed.
Yeah,
And, like, just keep them away from everyone else.
Exactly.
But behind the humor, I mean, she's kind of right.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, yeah.
Like, these relationships are so dysfunctional.
They are.
You don't want to bring kids into that and perpetuate the cycle.
No, absolutely not.
So she said she has worked with some couples
Mhm.
where both partners identify as narcissists.
Yeah.
So, like, is there any hope for these relationships? Can they ever work?
You know, it's incredibly rare.
Okay.
And in her experience, they almost always fail.
Wow.
Yeah, because that clash of egos and the lack of true connection,
Right.
it's just too overwhelming.
Okay, so that's a pretty bleak outlook for, I guess, two narcissists dating.
Yeah.
But what about, somebody who's dating a narcissist? Like, is there any hope for them to change?
You know, that's the big question. And Dr. Ramani, she does offer a little glimmer of hope here.
Oh.
She says that some narcissists, under certain circumstances,
Yeah.
can actually recognize the damage they're causing
Wow, really?
and seek help.
That's amazing. What kind of circumstances make that happen?
Often, it's when they start to see the impact their behavior is having on the people around them,
Mm-hmm.
especially, their children
Oh,
or close family members.
hmm.
Sometimes it takes a major loss,
Yeah.
a setback, or they just hit this point
Yeah.
where that pain of isolation is just too much.
To like a wake-up call.
It is.
Yeah.
They get this glimpse of all the destruction they've caused,
Wow.
and they realize something has to change.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But let's be clear, real change for a narcissist, it requires a lot. It takes immense self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
a willingness to really confront their flaws,
Yeah.
and a commitment to therapy. It's not easy,
Right.
And even then, there's no guarantees.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to remember that even if a narcissist does seek help,
Yeah.
it doesn't excuse their past behavior
No, not at
or
all.
the hurt they've caused. Right.
Absolutely.
Like, accountability is key.
It is.
Yeah. So just because there's potential for change
Yeah.
doesn't mean we condone or minimize the damage they've caused.
Exactly.
Right? It just means that, okay, they've recognized it
Mhm.
and they're trying to do something about it.
Yes.
So I think that's a good place to maybe stop for a second. And when we come back, we'll talk about like what you can do if you are in a relationship with a narcissist.
Sounds good.
Like, how do you protect yourself
Mhm.
and set boundaries and all of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before the break, we were talking about like, how do you set boundaries with a narcissist?
Yeah.
Which I imagine is easier said than done, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially since, we've established that they don't exactly love hearing feedback.
Right, right.
It can feel like you're walking on eggshells just trying to tell them what you need.
Yeah, because they're so sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Remember, boundaries can feel like a personal attack to a narcissist.
Right, right.
Like you're trying to challenge their control.
Which is funny because it's really about you taking back control.
Exactly. It's about regaining control of your own life.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you set those boundaries when you're dealing with somebody who just doesn't want to hear it?
Right.
Like, it's not as simple as saying, hey, stop doing that. It makes me feel bad.
Oh, definitely not. It's a process.
Okay.
So first, you really need to get clear on what you won't tolerate.
Right.
What are your absolute non-negotiables?
Okay. So, like, what are examples of that?
So is it disrespect? Is it lying? Constant criticism?
Oh, okay.
You have to identify those behaviors that just, they cross the line.
Okay. So once you know what those are,
Yeah.
then what? Do you just, like, lay down the law?
Well, you have to communicate them
Okay.
clearly and calmly, but just be prepared for pushback.
Oh, yeah. I get
Narcissists are experts at pushing those buttons, testing limits.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens when they inevitably try to cross those boundaries?
Well, consistency is key.
Okay.
You have to enforce those boundaries, even if it means, walking away from the situation
Wow.
or ending the conversation, sometimes even the relationship.
Gosh, that's so tough.
It is.
Like, it seems like you're almost going into battle knowing that you're going to lose.
It can definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
And that's why, having a strong support system is crucial.
Right, right.
You need people you can talk to, people you can vent to,
Yeah.
people who can give you that reality check,
Mm-hmm.
remind you of your worth.
Because it's so easy to get caught in, like, their web.
It is.
And just start doubting your own judgment and everything.
Exactly. And isolation is a huge tool for the narcissist.
Right.
They want to keep you off balance, questioning your reality.
Oh, yeah.
So breaking that cycle is crucial.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting how Dr. Ramani said that, like, sometimes narcissists do seek help when they see their behavior affecting their kids.
Yeah.
Like, there's this need to protect their legacy, their image.
Absolutely. Their narcissism, it extends beyond just them.
Right.
Right? It goes to their family.
Yeah,
They want to appear successful.
Yeah.
Have that perfect family.
Okay. But that drive for perfection.
Oh, it can be so damaging.
Right. To their kids.
For the kids, absolutely. Children of narcissists often grow up feeling unseen, unheard, emotionally neglected.
Yeah.
Their needs are constantly being overshadowed by the parents' need for all the attention.
So for someone who's listening
Yeah.
and they're thinking, okay, I think I might be in a relationship with a narcissist, but I also have kids.
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, what do they do? Because leaving is hard enough.
It is.
But now there's this added layer.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation. And unfortunately, there's no easy answer.
Okay.
You have to weigh the potential risks of staying versus the challenges of leaving.
Right.
If you're constantly feeling trapped, hopeless, that's not healthy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not healthy for you.
Right.
And it's not healthy for your children.
Yeah, but leaving can be terrifying.
It is.
Especially, if you're financially dependent or worried about custody.
There are so many factors to consider.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to really prioritize your safety and the safety of your children. If you feel threatened, reach out for help.
Okay.
There are resources, domestic violence hotlines, shelters.
Okay. That's good to know.
And legal advice is crucial as well.
Oh, right.
To
Yeah.
understand your rights and options, when it comes to things like custody and child support.
Yeah, because that can be so overwhelming.
It can be. Having an experienced attorney on your side can make a huge difference.
So important to know that you're not alone in this.
You're not, no.
There's help out there.
Absolutely. And remember, recognizing those patterns of narcissism.
Yeah.
That's the first step toward breaking free.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of patterns, Dr. Ramani talked about some subtle red flags that might indicate you're dealing with a narcissist.
Like, especially in those early stages of dating.
Yes, we talked about those core traits, but there are some other warning signs to look out for.
Okay.
And one of the biggest ones is love bombing.
Oh, yeah, love bombing. I've heard that before.
So imagine this. You're being showered with all this attention,
Okay.
affection,
Yes.
gifts,
Okay.
very, very early in the relationship.
Yeah, like right away.
It feels amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost too good to be true.
Yeah, like you've met your soulmate.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This intense adoration, it often fades pretty quickly.
Oh.
Once they feel like they've won you over, or once they start seeing flaws or imperfections, things that don't fit that idealized image they have of you.
So it's not real love, it's more about control.
Exactly. Another red flag is their inability to take responsibility
Oh, okay.
for their actions. They'll always blame others,
Oh, yeah.
make excuses, play the victim.
So it's never their fault.
Never their fault.
Right.
They're masters at deflecting blame. Wow.
And they can be incredibly sensitive to any perceived criticism or slight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even if it's unintentional.
So, like, if you accidentally say the wrong thing, they could, like, get angry.
Oh, it can get that extreme.
Yeah?
They just lack the emotional maturity to handle even minor disagreements with grace.
And, of course, we can't forget about their obsession with appearances.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like, everything has to be perfect, from their clothes to their Instagram.
Oh, yes. The carefully curated social media life, that's a big giveaway.
Right.
They want to project this image of success and perfection, even if it's totally at odds with their true self.
So how do we know, like, the difference between someone who's confident and enjoys looking good versus, like, hiding behind it?
You have to pay close attention to their actions and words.
Okay.
Is it always about them? Are they constantly fishing for compliments?
Oh, okay.
Do they downplay your achievement?
Oh, that's a good one.
How do they react when you experience success?
Yeah.
Are they genuinely happy for you? Or do they feel threatened?
Oh, I see.
Truly confident people, they're secure enough to celebrate the success of others
Right.
without feeling like they're any less than.
Which goes back to the empathy thing. Right.
It all comes back to empathy.
Yeah.
Narcissists, they have a really hard time understanding and sharing the feelings of others.
Right. Right.
It's like they're so focused on their own needs
Right.
that they can't see things from your perspective.
So if you're in a relationship and you're, like, constantly feeling drained, you're, like, giving.
Yeah, and getting nothing in return.
That's probably a sign.
It's a huge red flag. Healthy relationships, they involve this balance of give and take.
Right.
Both partners should feel supported and valued, respected.
Okay.
If one person is always taking and the other person's always giving, that's going to lead to resentment and unhappiness.
So Dr. Ramani, she mentioned that narcissists tend to have a lot of failed relationships in their past.
Oh, yes.
But there's a catch, right?
There is.
They usually blame their exes for everything.
Yes.
Right.
They're the victim in every story.
So it's never their fault. It's always the other person.
Always.
Classic narcissist.
They rewrite history to protect their ego
Oh, wow.
and avoid taking responsibility.
But I mean, I can see how that victim mentality could be really charming at first.
It is.
Right? You want to help them.
You want to be the one to heal them.
Yeah.
But over time, that charm, it fades away.
Yeah.
And you start to see the manipulation and the blame. So you really have to ask yourself, are they taking responsibility?
Right.
Are they willing to change?
Or are they just doing this over and over again?
Exactly. Repeating those patterns, that's a hallmark of narcissism.
Okay.
It might be jobs, it might be finances, it might be drama with their friends, but it's always somebody else's fault.
So if you're listening and you're like, this is me, this is my life.
Yeah.
What's the first step?
Trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels off,
Yeah.
your intuition's screaming. Pay attention.
Okay.
You don't need all the answers. You don't need a diagnosis. Just acknowledge that something's not quite right.
Right.
Seek support.
Okay.
Talk to a therapist, talk to a friend, join a support group.
Okay.
There are people who get it,
Yeah.
and they can help you.
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
It is.
Understanding this stuff can really help you make better choices.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll talk about healing
Yes.
And moving forward,
I like it.
like what can you do
Yeah.
to protect your emotional well-being?
Love it.
Awesome. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about recognizing narcissists, especially in dating.
Right.
But I think now it's time to talk about, like, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
Like, what if you've seen all these red flags?
Mhm.
Maybe you were even in a relationship with a narcissist. Like, how do you move forward?
Well, the good news is healing is possible.
Oh,
You can break free from those unhealthy patterns
mm-hmm.
and create those fulfilling relationships that you deserve.
So, like, where do you even start? How do you rebuild after something like that?
I think the most important thing is to prioritize self-care.
Okay.
And I know that sounds cliche,
Yeah.
but after being with a narcissist, you are most likely feeling depleted. You're drained. You're unsure of yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to replenish those reserves.
Like they suck the energy right out of you.
They do. It's like they've just taken everything.
Yeah.
So think about what brings you joy.
Okay.
Is it spending time in nature, reading,
Mm-hmm.
listening to music?
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever it is, make time for it. Do those things that nourish your soul.
Yeah, because I imagine, like, part of it is just rediscovering yourself.
It is.
Like, what do you even like to do anymore?
Exactly. You have to reclaim your identity.
Okay.
And don't underestimate the power of therapy.
Okay.
Talking to a therapist who specializes in narcissistic abuse,
Yeah.
it can be so helpful.
Okay.
It can help you process those really tough emotions.
Mm.
They can give you coping mechanisms, help you rebuild your self-esteem.
It's like having a guide to help you through that.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having someone to hold your hand and say, it's okay, I'm here with you.
Okay, that's good.
But remember, healing, it takes time.
Yeah, that's true.
Be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate all those small victories along the way.
Okay, so self-care, therapy,
Yeah.
that all makes sense. But how do you avoid making the same mistakes?
That's a great question.
Right, like how do you not fall into another relationship
Yeah.
with a narcissist?
This is where trusting your intuition is so important.
Okay.
You have to pay attention to those early warning signs,
Yeah.
even if they seem subtle.
So even if you can't put your finger on it.
If something feels off, trust that feeling.
Yeah.
It's better to be cautious
Okay.
and really take your time getting to know someone.
And remember that love bombing we talked about?
Oh, yes.
Like if it feels like too much, too soon,
Way too much too soon.
that's probably a sign.
It's a huge red flag.
Mm.
You know, it can be tempting to get swept up in it, but you have to keep your head on straight.
So look beyond the surface.
Exactly.
Like really try to figure out if this is genuine.
Is there a real connection? Is there respect? Or is this just about control and manipulation?
Because real love, that grows over time, right?
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
doesn't just happen overnight.
So how they treat other people, that's a good indicator too, right?
It is. Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Do they have a history of messy relationships?
Oh, that's a good one.
Do they blame everyone else for their problems?
Hmm.
Do they have any empathy?
So these are all like clues
Yeah, they're clues.
that can kind of tell you who they really are.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Be curious. Ask about their past relationships, their values, their goals.
Okay.
You know, it's like you're a detective
right.
gathering evidence
Yeah.
to see if this person is a good fit.
Okay. I like that.
You're investigating. And remember, you always have the right to set boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and walk away from any situation that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's so
You
important.
deserve to be with someone who respects you, who supports you,
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel safe and loved.
So I guess like the big takeaway from this whole deep dive into narcissism is if you are feeling lost,
Mhm.
confused, unsure of yourself after a relationship like this,
Absolutely.
just remember, you are worthy of love and respect.
You are.
You deserve to be in a healthy, fulfilling relationship,
You do.
and you can create that for yourself.
And you have the power to do it.
Okay, I love that. So trust your gut, set those boundaries, and never settle for less than you deserve.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And if you want more information, you can check out Dr. Ravani's book.
Yeah, should I stay or should I go?
There are also therapists and support groups,
Mm-hmm.
online communities. There are people out there who get it.
You're not alone.
So take a deep breath, remember your worth, and step boldly into the future.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.